Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Off Axis Podcast, where we talk entertainment, acrobatics, business, entrepreneurship, fitness, and more. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys want to support, please share with your friends. Now, let's jump into the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Off Axis Podcast. Today I have a special guest, Kayla Kalisz. How are you doing today?
I'm doing marvelous today. It has been a fantastic week, and I can't wait for the rest of it.
Yeah, you've been pretty busy. So yesterday, you did a show with Stacy Stardust. How did that go? Can you describe what the show was?
So Stacy's show was pretty much a brand new pitch that we had for an all-female circus involving fire over at the Ahern Hotel. It's relatively a brand new hotel, formerly known as the Lucky Dragon, that everyone thought went under foreclosure. But it's in this beautiful, small little theater venue, full LED projections, and she gets to showcase her intimate moments with magic, sideshow acts, as well as multiple different performers that are ideally, I believe, with her product or her idea with this, she's planning to keep an all-female cast and just contain the same characters and same individuals with rotating acts every once in a while. But we go between fire, we go between juggling, aerial, contortion, acrobatics, and even magic.
Interesting. How was it? Did you like doing it?
It was a blast. Unfortunately, there were small pitfalls because I am working on a new ladder prop, so I do have this beautiful prop that stands 7.5 feet tall, but you have to understand when you stand on the top of the ladder and you're 5'8", it's not that tall when you start to realize that a lot of venues have very small spaces. So unfortunately, I couldn't get to perform my act to its full capacity because I had to work on the floor instead of on the stage itself. Otherwise, I was going to hit the rafters.
Interesting. Yeah. Whenever you work with those kind of low ceilings, and I mean, every theater is different. Sometimes we get to a theater and we're like, I thought you said it was 25 feet. And they're like, oh yeah, that's to the ceiling. I'm like, well, yeah, but the rafters, they're like, oh, those are 20 feet. I'm like, maybe
didn't add that part.
you should have added that part, So sometimes we end up doing like a tramp wall show and we'll have to like place ourselves between certain rafters or between the lights or something. And sometimes we've even done it to where we are straight up just going to hit the ceiling. So we're just dealing with hitting the ceiling.
So I'm sure you're well aware. It's always a little fun. You get a little dust from the rafters every once in a while.
Yeah.
I was actually doing a croc in the middle of my performance and ended up hitting the LED panel, which they told me not to, but can you control feet at that point?
Uh-oh. You hit it?
Well, just a little tap tap.
Gave it a little love tap. So how long was that show?
So that show itself, I believe, was about an hour to an hour and a half long. We have a little bit of audience participation occasionally, so it kind of just varies on who decides to come up, how that rolls out, and also if we have a longer intermission for a bigger crowd.
Yeah, so it's a pretty small cast, right? Was it like 5 people?
4 people total with the assistance of a stagehand who I believe does close-up magic beforehand.
Oh, that's good though. Like, smaller the cast, less things that you have to worry about. And it's just like more easy to contain, I would say. I like the character build and stuff that they're going for, and female circus that's completely unique so far. I don't think anyone else really has done that before. So shout out Stacy. Is that your first time doing one of her shows?
This is actually my second. I was originally talking to her a couple years back, or about a year back, when she was looking for an assistant, and she brought along Gia, which was an amazing opportunity for her. But I ended up doing her secret circus for her birthday bash just at the end of September last month, and that was exciting over at the Artifice. Again, same problem, we had a small venue, but it's always fun because you get to meet so many creative circus individuals, and it's nice to actually bring the community together because I've noticed lately we're not really as close as we used to be. Everyone's kind of spreading out, kind of keeping their distance and everyone at arm's length, and I don't know how I feel about that yet.
Yeah, COVID kind of threw a wrench into the system and kind of scattered everything around a little bit. Everyone thought it was such a consistent thing, and now some people either dove back into it, or a lot of people are kind of like just dabbling in it here and there and not want to put all their eggs in the performing basket. And a lot of people got like normal daily jobs too.
Well, I mean, you have to nowadays. I mean, we're getting rates from 2006, 2007, 2008. We can't even get the rates after COVID for what we deserve to have, and everyone's lowballing and fighting for the best offer. I mean, I've seen multiple contracts go through because everyone's just going lower and lower and lower.
Yep.
It's good to get the contract, but at the same time, at what cost?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I tell people, like, you got to be careful of that stuff because a lot of performers are still getting the same rate that I was getting when I was like 19 years old, which is a long time ago, almost 14 years ago or so. And it's like, now everything costs more. We can't be doing stuff for the same exact price. But of course, there's the business side of things where it kind of, they only have this much money. So the better the business person that you're working with, the better the money will eventually be, I guess. But okay, so what is your background originally?
So a little bit about my background. I am third generation dancer and entertainer myself. My grandmother is a ballet dancer and ballet dancer herself. My dad was a five-time national grand champion in hand-to-hand balancing. He did a four-man tower. And my mother as well was a dancer and performer herself. She did the Folies Bergère, performed all across Vegas, even announced the Atlanta Olympics way back when in Barcelona. So a lot of great things. I'm actually the first circus performer within my family. I guess if Dad did hand balancing, so it's a fine line between circus and such. But everyone was acrobats, everyone was dancers, and we all kind of fell into place with that. And since I was 18 months old, my grandmother had taught me acrobatics, and dance kind of fell along that line. I was never really a studio brat, and realized that dance wasn't really the passion for me. It's kind of a short route. Unless you go to LA or you choose to pursue a different kind of pitfall with things, there's not technical dancers anymore.
Yeah.
So nobody really respects that. We got a lot more pop, funk, hip-hop, which is amazing. That's great, but you have to remember, Vegas was originally technically trained. We had showgirls. We had long legs, beautiful lines, and just this image. And, of course, the industry changes. So I jumped into aerial arts. I was trained by Cassie Sandow and the Sandow Russian Trio, and I'm actually working alongside her husband now, Constantine, doing Quick Change Magic, and I've known them for years. So aerial kind of just fell into place with me. I do anything and everything. I originally started as aerialist and acrobat, but kind of just spanned on from there. So
yeah,
I call myself a jack of all trades, master of none. Basically, if you ask me what I could do, I could say, yeah, I could do it.
Yeah, I always say that too. They say, can you do this? I'm like, yes, and then figure it out later.
Exactly. And you just got to grin and bear it.
Yeah, because it's better to have the gig than not to have the gig. And at the end of the day, the more skills you have, the more valuable you are as a performer.
Absolutely.
But it seems like this entertainment stuff has kind of ran through your family.
I guess it's in my bloodline, I will say. It is something that a lot of people don't have the ability to do, so I know there's a lot of new generation performers. But I always had an amazing support system. My grandmother was always there. She made me costumes. She hand rhinestoned everything for years, and I'm still trying to learn how she did that because rhinestoning is a process.
Yeah.
But there were always great support for me, and they continue to support me through anything and everything that I've done, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, my dad knows rigging. My mom has taught me what I need to know. Of course, she's not on the aerial side, but she's there to build my props, work alongside me, and work in tandem as a team. And I really do respect that. It's something that a lot of people don't have, and sure, it may seem juvenile in some sense, but you need the best backing you have. Trying to go out in the world nowadays alone without anybody kind of giving you a little cheery in the background,
yeah, it's
difficult, and a lot of people suffer from that. I understand that. So I love my family support. They're always there for me. And of course, we've had some fights, arguments, and pitfalls before, but who hasn't?
Yeah. And are you from Vegas?
Born and raised.
Born and raised. How was it growing up in Vegas? Was entertainment like something you always wanted to do?
Well, actually, I ended up going into contortion after seeing Mystere as a kid. And I never expected to do so, but I saw the three-man Mongolian towers that they used to perform. And I said, I want to do that. I want to be able to do something like that. And at the time, I was a board back. I'm not a natural contortionist, and it's all working and kind of improving yourself.
Board back is what? Your back is stiff?
A very stiff back, I guess you could say. Like limited flexibility, and it not really as frequent and capable of doing what some people can do. And with anybody, it's just about patience, perseverance, and training to get back to what you can.
So I still have a chance.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
That's what I tell everyone. If you have a chance, what you should do is always practice daily, weekly. Always keep going for it, because I've seen people are like, I can't get my splits. Well, what are you doing? Are you actually practicing every day? No. Okay, well, what do you expect?
Yeah. So earlier you mentioned that you were going into crime scene investigation originally, or at some point.
At some point, yes.
Did you watch Criminal Minds a lot or something?
My grandmother and my uncle were both huge fiends, and you hit it right on the nail.
They were
huge fiends for Criminal Minds. I started watching CSI, realized it was all too fake, so I was kind of like, okay. So we fell into the horror genre, and I watched that for years as a kid. And when I was kind of pushed to go to college after I graduated early, everyone said, you got to go to college, do something. well, I'm not going to go for entertainment. I'm not going to go for dance. That's a waste of money, in my opinion. Sorry. But I wanted to
True.
go.
It is super true, though.
Thank you. I don't get it. If you're an entertainer, you already know everything you need to know. Just
Yeah.
go out and experience it instead of having somebody tell you, read this book and go do this. Boo.
Yeah. If you read a book, you're not going to generate the skills that you need to be a performer. You're it or you're not it. A lot of people go to school for like dance or other like
Business.
Singing. Business is a big one. They like read a book, and then like those are the people that always screw up their businesses. The people that try to follow the stuff they teach in business school, because business is like, it's constantly changing so quickly, and it's never like there's never a pamphlet of this is what you should do. And most of those times they go in, they waste a bunch of money, or they get outside investments, and then next thing you know, the company just goes down.
Exactly.
But yeah, business is always a funny one that people go into. I think it's a good idea to have like a background in business, like not necessarily a major, but just have an idea, because you can kind of transfer the skills into other things as well. Maybe just having a bit of a business background would really help you in performing, because really if you're a performer, you are a business person.
You certainly
And most people don't want to accept that, but you got to be like marketing yourself, negotiating. There's so much stuff that goes into just being a performer.
Speaking of being a performer, I've noticed a lot of things, even with people twice my age. Nobody knows how to network.
Yeah, networking is huge.
It is massive, and I don't understand how you don't go up to these individuals. You start talking, strike up a conversation, and just be human with them. Otherwise, where are you going to go? You're going to go back into the same little box that you've been in. You're not going to know anyone, and you're never going to have those connections in the future. You may never know who that person is in that room, and I was always taught that. You could be in an elevator at a competition, convention, or something. There's going to be somebody there that has importance or matter. You never know. You're a handshake away from it.
Yeah. I always make sure that I go out to every like event and networking party, whatever it is that I possibly can, just because that's where you get jobs from. And the more people who know you, imagine if everyone in the world knew you, you would never have to worry about getting hired. You'd always have leads coming in. So acquiring leads, whether it's social media or just going out to meet people, is crucial, you know?
It certainly is. And the industry is always ever evolving and changing. So you can't even rely on those former means that you used to have. Mm-hmm. You always have to meet new people. You always have to go. There's a new company popping up here, there, and everywhere, every single day. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I like being in Vegas. Even though we rarely ever book anything in Vegas, we'll book corporates here and there, but pretty much everything we do is around the country. But still, just being here is like the hub of where all entertainment is. And the beautiful thing about Vegas is not only is it where everyone comes to spend all their money, but anyone who's like anyone and is trying to be a performer is also here, and you can either learn from them, you can use their network to get more gigs as well, and you just are just surrounded by a crazy group of people that all enjoy what you're doing. When I was in LA, it was not that at all.
Really?
You had to drive so far just and sit in traffic to just be around people that enjoyed what you did, and it was still just never the same. You know, there's always like cool events and stuff, and everyone, when we have parties or something, everyone who comes over is like a performer to some degree, and that's just the coolest part about being in Vegas, I think.
I totally agree. And the one thing I've noticed, especially with the LA scene, I mean, the entertainers don't have the same respect for each other. Everyone feels like they have the biggest chest out there and they're trying to puff it out and be better than everyone. And I honestly think, especially with entertainment and circus values, you have to have your community. You have to have people that you trust, you understand, and you're always networking and communicating with. Otherwise, what are you going to do? You're going to be the biggest dick of the room that nobody wants to work with? Cool. Where's that going to get you?
Yeah. The LA scene is completely different. It just seems like social media just runs their lives out there. No offense to everyone who's listening, but like you just kind of see it when I go to like events or something out there. It's just like all they talk about is social media, their social media followers and all this stuff.
That's so crazy though, because I mean, I was instilled in values where you were to put your phone away, you were to remain professional, and you're engaged in the moment that you're in. The media team's job is to take care of that, or if whoever's doing production, video, or photography. If you had your phone out, you were unprofessional. If you were texting someone or doing something like that, of course, an emergency, we were always taught that, but it just didn't seem professional at the time. And now everyone has their phones out. And if you don't film content, if you don't do something, you're in the back of the pen.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah, I was at a party the other day and I just sat back and looked and I just take a photo and everyone is on their phones and it's like, well, this is boring, you know. My favorite thing that's been invented recently is the do not disturb like sleep thing on your phone. I don't know what it's called, but it just doesn't allow texts or calls or anything to come in, and I use that so much. I mean, obviously I miss a ton of people's phone calls, and sometimes people are like, why aren't you answering your phone?
Hey, we're all human.
But it's just like the easiest way to just shut off. And I went camping probably like 8 months or so ago, and there was no service. So for 2 days, no phone, nothing. Didn't have to worry about anything. Of course, I was in the back of my head like, uh-oh, like what could have happened? And I just can't get any service. But it's so peaceful not looking at your phone.
It really is. You don't have to stress about things. You're always not constantly checking emails or worrying about the next opportunity or what's going to be out there. I think we all need a moment to kind of refresh and relax. Even get rid of social media.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's awful just looking online and everyone's comparing themselves to everyone. Oh, how'd you get that event? How'd you do this? How about we just take a breath, realize what we're focusing on, and go back to what we love to do instead of trying to push out what we're doing.
Yeah. A big wake-up call for me was when my Facebook got hacked. And it was like, oh, I just spent all this time like building up this platform for nothing, and it's just gone overnight, basically.
That's awful. But at the same time, you still have the connections by people knowing your name.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the biggest importance. Sure, we lost our social media, but at the same time, as long as somebody knows and remembers you, I think that has more value.
Yeah. So what kind of shows have you been doing lately other than that one last night?
So the funny thing is, even though I've been in Vegas my entire life, I don't actually work technically as a full-on show performer. Stacey's shows are one of the rare instances where I've actually done a little intimate venue where I showcase to the public, actually, what people can do and my talents. But most of my work actually relies alongside, private events, corporate parties, announcements, this, that, and everything in between. But those are always for, hospitality groups, conventions, and the inner class that always books it out. But I will say I do have some really exciting stuff that everyone can probably watch, which is starting up the NBA season. I actually work as a halftime show entertainer, and I'll be doing the first halftime show of the season with the Lakers and the Nuggets coming up, doing Quick Change.
Ooh, that's cool. Is that with Cassie?
So that is through Cirque Entertainment.
Entertainment?
Yes, I work alongside Konstantin Sandow, and it's just been an honor to step into that place and have the opportunity to showcase Quick Change, especially older circus art, to a bunch of people. And let me tell you, it is a completely different field of entertainment. Like, everyone, especially on the show side and Vegas side, everyone's so focused about, being the best, being a perfectionist, everything has to be right. When you're doing a halftime show, people are getting up to get beers, they're going out to get hot dogs, they're in the middle of things. You're there just to be in the moment. You're there, of course, as entertainment, but not everyone's going to be like, oh, well, you didn't point your toe and your leg was bent on that. They're over there just happy. And I think that's what sports bring together. Everyone's just happy to be in that moment. Yeah. And of course, it's crazy because you see the jumbotrons and everything, and you got like 4 cameras all on your face. And of course, when you're doing magic, that's a little intimidating, but it is a blast, and it's a rush of adrenaline.
Yeah, I bet. So we recently did a gig together, sort of together, but you were also there at Allegiant Stadium.
That was a blast.
That was crazy. There was so much money poured into one event.
Oh my God, right? Because they booked Allegiant Field, which, I mean, is already difficult enough. That was for what I believe a vet company or like a pet medicine company.
Yeah. I forget what it was called. But just a flea medicine place, and they booked the whole entire stadium out, and there's like crazy lighting and all this stuff just for like 1,000 people or so.
It was a small venue, I will say, and not a small venue, but a small like crowd. Yeah. But we had swipe ball performers, we had you guys with your entertainment and trample and off axis. It was crazy. Did you do the teeterboard too? Yeah.
Yeah, we had a teeterboard there also.
The teeterboard, and of course we were serving champagne and doing bartending and stuff like that. So it was a beautiful event, but I mean, it's amazing to see the money that gets poured out on certain events.
Yeah. Gotta love it.
And it was an honor, especially to meet your crew, because everyone was so down to earth and laid back. I really respected that. So it was nice.
Yeah. Everyone's a super hard worker. That's like the first thing that I look for when I'm hiring people, is that they're hard workers and easy to work with. Because it's not really a career. It's kind of an opportunity, and you can make the most of it. But when people even complain just the slightest bit, I'm like, all right, I'm not hiring you anymore, you know? Because we could be working, a lot of these performers don't have the greatest education or resume, and just being able to do what you love I would do it for free. I'm not saying I'm going to do it for free, but I would probably do it for free if, like, you know, I'd put on like this off-axis stunt show that you see on this TV. To me, that's like art for me, is putting together the show. It's super fun. It's like my music, and I make money doing it, of course, but I would actually like just do it for free. It's just fun. So I don't like hearing, you know, of course there's like safety concerns and stuff. We could complain about those, I'll be honest, but like when people are like, oh, we got to do another show. I'm like, no, you get to do another show.
Exactly. Because, I mean, it's so far and few that we get to do shows occasionally. So when you get to do something, be at the top of your game. Be happy. I mean, just be in the moment. I was enamored being in Allegiant Stadium. That was the first time I'd ever done that. And a lot of people may never have the opportunity to just step on that field, the same field that's going to hold, the Super Bowl in just a couple months.
Yeah.
So I think just finding something to be in that moment, to be really happy and appreciative for, because you have to appreciate just doing our art. You have to appreciate people coming up and just being enamored by it. Even though it might seem like the simplest thing in the world to you,
yeah,
people love it.
Yeah. I find that when people come from having a hard job, like I grew up doing plumbing and stuff with my dad.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
you're a hard worker, yeah.
Anything coming from there is like, oh, I would way rather do this, you know? We get to ride hoverboards around. Like, that's the silliest thing ever. People actually pay us
to ride
hoverboards in light-up suits at their parties.
And they love it, too.
And they love it.
The best part, too, is when people come up and they're like, oh, can I step on it? And it's like, you're going to break a hip, probably.
Yeah, that would be funny, though.
But it is certainly fun. I love doing hoverboard. We actually got to meet together for another opportunity doing hoverboard.
Yeah.
That was a little funky, I will say, especially when you had tiled flooring and you're trying to run with hoverboards, which have small wheels nowadays.
Yep.
And now you have drunk people in a confined space, in a tight crowd, on a rooftop. But, hey, we do it. We love it. It's always a blast, and it's so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it a lot, actually, because I think it's like the easiest paycheck I could ever earn is riding a hoverboard. Because, like, when we have parties, we just ride hoverboards around for fun anyways.
Exactly.
Do, like, bumper cars and stuff. And the fact that we get paid to do it at people's parties is unbelievable. How did you even get into hoverboarding in the first place?
I've got a long story for this, and it goes full
really
circle.
Good.
Oh, thank you. So, I don't know if I want to backpedal this far, but here, I'll do it in quick little bullet points. So when I was a kid doing stuff in LA and I was doing auditions, I ended up seeing a job for the Acrobots, which were a hoverboard troupe that did hand balancing on hoverboards, which was absolutely insane. I auditioned for them. Unfortunately, I was too young at the time. I think I was 11, which was a little crazy. And full circle comes around. I'm still doing entertainment, and I happened to meet these two girls, Donna and Diana, which are twins that were amazing straps performers, and they needed another 2 hoverboard artists to open up a show at the Link for Link Extreme Talent Live. And for some reason, we'd hit it off between events before, and my name fell into the book, and they called me up one day, and they said, well, you have a great understanding of acrobatics. It'd be cool. We like your look. We are about the same height, so how about we just put you in? So we trained together, and my literal process for training on hoverboard, because I'd never stepped on one before in my life, was, okay, step on, drive forward, drive backward, step off. Now do a handstand.
Yeah.
And that was exactly how the training was. And it was absolutely insane. And when I first started doing it, I've told everyone it was more intimidating to step on and off the hoverboard, especially when you've never done it. Because at the time, our hoverboards were, kind of temperamental and a little shaky. It was around 2017, I think. So we had the lithium ion craziness, but it was scary for me just to step off the hoverboards at the time. And doing handstands, because it self-balances, was just so fun and so easy. And when you get to glide around. And they luckily had given me the opportunities to do so. We got to open up for the Raiders at the launch party at the Link, and we did a couple shows there. And then they fleeted away off into the existence, and now I'm left doing hoverboard with my knowledge.
Yeah.
It is crazy, though, because trying to explain the act to people is a little difficult. And they're like, oh, it's hoverboard. People can step on a hoverboard and go back and forth. But when you say you do handstands on it, it's more of something you have to see in person.
Yeah.
And I just love doing it, but it's kind of a hard pitch occasionally because you have hoverboard artists, like you get booked for hoverboard, but there's not a lot of people that do handstands. I know there's one other person in town right now.
Yeah. I actually just bought some new hoverboards, but they're like separate.
Really?
So they're not connected.
I've seen those.
They're like hover shoes, I guess.
Yeah, the Mirrormen always use those.
Yeah, they're way better than the hoverboards, I think. Because you can like turn your feet and like have your feet at different spots and stuff. And they're really easy to ride too.
I want to try that.
Yeah, I got them upstairs, so you got to try them.
I definitely have to try them. How is it? Have you tried working on a one wheel yet?
I have a one wheel, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if I can do some crazy stuff on a one wheel.
That would be hard because the one wheels are less responsive than a hoverboard is, but I think you could still do it. But I think you could do a handstand on a hoverboard because the back and forth kind of like catches you. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you couldn't do it. I'm sure you could do it, but you're not going to be able to do it and like ride around, I don't think.
Of course. It's more of a balancing type feature.
Yeah. I don't know. My one wheel kind of sucks. I just like the one wheels for like, I just keep it in my truck at all times.
So you could just one wheel around?
Yeah. I hate walking. So if I can, I'll just ride the one wheel around.
That is fun. And I will say when I started actually hoverboarding for gigs and events, just going from point A to point B on a hoverboard and even going between like elevators, it was so nice to just glide, and I love it. I will say though, there are some safety features that will come with it. I just ate shit yesterday on my hoverboard.
Oh no.
Right before an event performance conveniently. So of course, even though we all are professionals, you get a little too cocky one day or you try to do something stupid, you're gonna get the repercussions for it.
Yeah.
Have you ever fallen on a hoverboard yet?
Yes. I can't remember a hard one, but I've definitely fallen for sure.
That is pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not fun because I know mine have been temperamental before and they'll start shaking, especially back then. And it's like, okay, either you get off or you're going to have some problems.
Yeah.
And I will say, she did happen to fall down Fremont stage once.
Ooh.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to do ever is to have a few drinks and ride the hoverboards up and down the strip and just dodge people.
I remember when you came from the audition, you were just riding your hoverboard up and down the strip. Like,
yeah,
it was just,
it's so fun.
It is super fun.
Because everyone loves walking down the strip, but what if you just hovered down the strip? It's way more fun.
It's way more fun. And I love just feeling the wind, especially when you start going a little faster. You got your hair going back.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And I have 10 or 11 hoverboards now. And it's just fun to get like a big group of people and we're all just like mobbing down the strip on hoverboards.
Call me up when you do that next time.
It doesn't get any better than that. That's my favorite thing to do.
That is a blast. And it'll turn heads too.
Yeah, everyone's like, where do you rent those things? I want one. Like, that's the number one. If there should be a hoverboard rental business, I bet.
There should. Is it still?
But I think on the strip is probably a horrible idea.
Of course, especially nowadays with so many people, you're going to get clipped.
Yeah, that'll happen if you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, you do aerial stuff as well. What kind of aerial do you typically do?
So most of my main specialties in aerial reside in silks, which I know everyone seems to do nowadays, but silks, hoop, as well as a little bit of hammock and specialty apparatuses. So I like to say I do a lot of aerial specialty apparatuses because I work on a moon, a champagne tree, chandeliers, and anything you can imagine. It's absolutely an honor and a blessing, but of course I've dabbled in flying trapeze, dance trapeze. I own 8 sets of straps, so I am obligated to do straps, but I'll leave that to the big muscly men for that. But I like to say that I am an aerialist of all varieties. Of course, I'd be happy to pick up whatever's open and available, but my main 3 are always going to be pretty much silks, lyra, hammock, main 4, silks, lyra, hammock, and specialty props. And specialty props, of course, is always a wide term.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really nice, especially in the Vegas community. I've noticed there are people who have props and it's like, let's go play. And if you go to LA, you go to Orlando, you go to those places, nobody gets to play on props. It's always like you have to take a structured class and everyone seems to have to go by this monotonous tone. Yeah. But I mean, I was always taught you figure it out by learning and you figure it out by doing. So do you really need somebody to explain to you how your body's going to work and how you're going to feel on a weird prop that nobody's ever worked on before?
Yeah.
Everyone comes up with new ideas.
I've never taken a class ever. Any acrobatics class, nothing like that. So I agree.
Exactly. Of course, there are some things like silks. I started doing silks classes, and that's something you can't really just jump on.
Yeah.
Especially because I know men especially try to muscle up on the silks, and they try to do their climbs with
It's
their
so
arms.
hard.
It is. I will say, when everyone's just starting, so many people quit doing silks, especially because it seems so difficult.
Yeah.
It's just something that's a repetitive process. You really have to build up your strength. And I will say with climbing, everyone tries to muscle, but just use your legs. It's really about the legs and how you incorporate your body as a full unit instead of just implementing one thing at a time.
Yeah. I was trying to play on my girlfriend Virginia's silks and just getting my feet up. I was like, wait, it stretches down, so you have to go further. It's like twice as far as you actually think you're going to climb.
Stretchy silks are the worst.
Yeah.
I've had ones where I've reached all the way up, and by the time I pulled it down, it was on the floor.
Yeah. Silks. That aerial stuff is hard. It's I have a new respect for it after trying to do it.
I think everyone should at least give it a try and have a little understanding and respect for that, because people who are especially on the non-circus community, they look at it and they're on two sides. They're like, oh, that's stupid. Like, oh, everyone could do that, or I could just climb up there and try something. And there's other people who are like, oh my God, that's amazing. I want to see you try it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. A lot of people think they could do it.
Exactly. And the blisters, the bruises, the silk burns, the scrapes, everything hurts. And especially when you're starting, everything will continue to hurt. It never changes. It's just about getting more comfortable if you're like on a metal bar versus fabric. Depends on your poison.
Yeah. So you told me before the podcast started that you had an interesting story working with Jim Carrey.
Yes. Okay.
Please tell me about this.
Especially in entertainment, you occasionally get some random calls and phone calls from people asking for bookings. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, you have some people that try to upsell what you're doing. And other times you have no idea what you're doing. So I get this phone call with this person I've never heard before. I don't even know their name because I don't remember meeting them, passing a business card, or even seeing them at an off event. But they got my number. They said, hey, I'm so-and-so with this entertainment company. I'm doing an event for Jim Carrey, and we need an acrobat and a contortionist. And I said, okay. The rate was low. Everything seemed sketchy, but of course I gave the person a call back. You give every opportunity respect it deserves to see, because you never know.
Yeah.
And I ended up going, I could talk through this guy. I decided to do a plexiglass hand balancing, like acrobatic act for atmosphere. And I get to this event. Mind you, I think I'm 16 or 17 at this time. We had it over at the Wynn. And we're in this beautiful art gallery. There's no other entertainment. It's a tiny gallery. There's art everywhere. Not really much room for space. And I'm looking around. I don't even see the contact until this lady comes by. And they keep saying that Jim Carrey's going to be here. Jim Carrey's going to be here. I'm like, okay, sure. You're really going to sell me with that? Whatever. I get through. Nobody else is entertaining. And all of a sudden, the entire crowd just goes silent. In walks Jim Carrey. It's absolutely insane. Everyone goes nuts. He shakes the hand of every single person that's at his event for this gallery.
That's good.
He even shakes the staffing hands, the cook's hands, and the entertainment side. They were photographers as well. And he guides every single individual through the room discussing each bit of his piece. And he gives the people the respect that they deserve while being down to earth. It was one of the most insane experiences because, one, I've never heard from that guy again. Not Jim Carrey, but of course the entertainment company. I got paid on site. It was a low rate, and it just kind of flittered off into existence. I don't know where it came from. I don't know how it happened. But in that moment, I still have photos. I got to say I performed exclusively for Jim Carrey. And I got to talk to him and actually meet him as a person.
Yeah.
And it's pretty insane.
Sometimes it's not about the rate. Sometimes it's about the story and the memories.
It really is.
Some of my favorite memories come from the shows that probably paid like the lowest.
I will agree.
But they were interesting times.
And you never know. Like I said, I've said this before, you never know who you're going to meet and what it's going to be for. Half the time, we don't even know what events we're doing. I mean, you probably do because you do a lot of the booking side, but as independent entertainers, like, we come to an event, I don't know what we're doing. I just know I'm going to be doing my act, and that's what I'm told to do.
Yeah, actually, you'd be surprised. I usually have no idea, and everyone's like, who are we doing the show for? I'm like, I don't know. They didn't tell me. They don't want to tell me. There's like some NDA or something between the client and the event booker. They don't want to tell you. Like, I didn't even know that it was called Next Guard for Allegiant Stadium. I didn't know we were even performing for Next Guard until that I had to make a giant banner that said Next Guard. And I was like, isn't that flea medicine stuff?
It's crazy because I actually also did an event just recently, not recently, last year, when they said, you can't take any photos of this car. It's going to be at this beautiful gallery over at the MGM. And the biggest thing was, you're just not allowed to take any photos. Everything's really exclusive. just don't do anything. We're like, what's the big deal? You know, is it another rich person that's just doing their thing? And I totally respect rich people, so that's fine. You keep paying my bills.
Yeah.
But we get there, we see the F1 sports car just on display casually with the underlights and neon glow and everything. We're announcing F1 coming to Vegas. Had no idea. I didn't even know that until my first set. You never know.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely amazing because I love just having something new every single time.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, rich people are kind of the whole reason that there is even an entertainment business in the first place, you know?
Agreed.
You don't go to these poorer countries. Like, I don't think no offense, but I don't think Venezuela's got the best entertainment industry, really, you know?
They have the heart. I'll tell you that. When you look into the poorer countries and you look into that, you have circus artists that care and truly respect what they do.
Yeah.
And they put on their shows. They will go through every single thing possible just to make sure that they entertain. It doesn't matter if they're training on rocks or stretching or tumbling into mud.
Yeah.
They will go through whatever they can just to do their art. So I fully respect those individuals, and they will put on a show. It doesn't matter if it's a show for their friends and family, a village, or even just a small little circus thing that's put together in a tent.
Yeah. You got to get creative in those other countries, you know? You don't have, because what we do is so easy. Someone just has this crazy budget. Like, it's so insane. Some of these budgets are like a couple $1 million for like 1 day event. And all we have to do is show up in, you know, in other countries and other places that are less fortunate. They have to set up a whole circus tent, and like there's so much more work that goes into it, rather than like there's not too many crazy events going on like that.
That is very true. And most of the time with our events, I mean, everything is so compartmentalized. You have all of your staffing and your people that are doing restaurant staffing. You have your people that are doing catering. Mm-hmm. You've got bartenders, and you have the decoration and events there. So everyone kind of is in its own little thing, and it's amazing to see how many people kind of come together to put one single event on. Because, I mean, all we're doing is coming to provide entertainment half the time.
Yeah.
And I've been to events where they have entertainment with 4, 5, 6 different companies or different bands and things like that. So it's really neat to see how everything has to, like, all come together for this one event to be so cohesive.
Yeah. So would you say you make a pretty good income with just performing?
It's the only thing I do.
What is the number one tip that you would suggest to people that want to get into performing?
Be aware of your worth. I think there's a lot that really goes into having heart and having passion for it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I have seen so many young artists. I just talked to a young performer, and they get stepped on because people keep saying, oh, there's opportunities. Well, that's great. You can take those opportunities. But if you want to be a performer and you want to be an entertainer, not just a hobbyist, you need to be aware of what your worth is. You need to be aware that that's great. You can have a lot of these great things on your resume, but at the same time, we're all human here. We all have to live. Yeah. And there's people that are doing the same job that are probably getting paid, and you're not. And it's really sad. I want people to have a little bit of thick skin. I want people to network. I want them to not accept a job because it's a low rate. If you're doing something for passion, or even if it's a charity event, I completely understand that. We've all done that. You and I I've done it. You've done it probably. But at the same time, when you know it's a big event for a big person, and you know there's obviously a budget and things like that, and they're just trying to skim you off because you're just a performer in their eyes sometimes, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Our art needs to be respected, and I think people need to understand that.
Yes, I agree to a degree.
Okay.
Because I think you do have to get your foot in the door
at
some places. Like my first couple shows, I actually lost money on, mm-hmm. which is different because I'm running a business and stuff. But there's actually been quite a few shows. The show that's on this TV right here, I actually lost probably like $4,000 to put on the show. I got given a budget for a tramp wall show, and I was like, oh, but if I make this video with all this other stuff and I just take this big loss and I get it professionally filmed and everything, at least now I have something to show and I can sell it for more in the future.
I completely agree.
Because your worth is only
what you put out.
What people are willing to pay you.
Yes.
So you always want to over-deliver. I would say that's number one, because if you over-deliver with every single person that books you, they will continue to book you and they will put out good word for you. But also from a standpoint of maybe you only have $100 in the bank and you got a show offer for $100.
I know.
I've been there,
We've
you know.
been there.
There was a time when I first started Off Axis where I don't think I saw $1,000 in my bank for like a whole year.
Oh, I mean, as an entertainer, of course you have a company, but for us independent artists and such, it's very difficult. I still am not raking in dough. Nobody ever is. I mean, even the summertime, some of the worst months you can ever have. But
Yeah.
I truly understand, and I do respect that as well. I completely see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And of course, we all have to make money. We have to take those sacrifices, and we have to do what we have to do. And I agree with that. I do. Especially, I've taken jobs, just like you said, where I know that I can at least get content back or something to elevate for future. You know, maybe I'm just debuting an act for the first time and I just need to get it out there. I need to get feedback. I just need to see how it goes. Of course, I'm going to do something like that. I'm not going to come out there just expecting the best.
Yeah.
And I think we should also grow and take that for a grain of salt too. Because if you expect the best on your first act, and unless you've, of course, trained it, there's always room for growth. There's always people that might not like it. There's always people that are going to love it. Hell, you might even have prop complications and you have to fix that, but you will never know that until you've worked it.
Yeah. I would just say if you're gonna work for a cheap price, just make it worth your time and like get video or photos or whatever you can. So that way you can at least sell it, because when it really comes down to it, what we're all doing is selling a video or selling a presentation that we have to other people who want to purchase it. So if you don't have any video of what you're doing, it's going to be very hard to sell it.
That is very hard. Now, I actually do have a question on that. Since you are mentioning the video, I've noticed, especially in this new age where media is really prominent and popular, when you're a multidisciplined artist and you do a whole list of things, and especially when you're doing events, you might not get video sometimes. How do you kind of narrow it all out? Because, I mean, if I had a reel and I had a video for every single thing I did, that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of extra content. And I know it's worth it and it's hard work, but it gets intense. It gets really overwhelming, especially when you're just trying to put things together and continually work as well.
Yeah. So I would say that I have maybe put on 1 or 2 shows ever, and we've done hundreds of shows at this point, where I didn't get footage. I always make sure I get footage. And I would say the number one thing that people should do if you're multidisciplined is make a show reel with all the best clips that you have. And every time you go and get more clips, like let's say every time you do 3 more shows, take a couple clips from those shows and add it to it. Because if I'm hiring people for an event and you send me a reel that has like 50 different shows that you've performed and all the clips are different, whatever discipline it is, you're much more likely to get hired than the person that sends me training footage.
I hate training footage. I understand we all have to start somewhere, but I think when you're putting something out there, especially, go find a studio, put it out there, and at least get a nice clean backdrop. That's my thing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, like whether it's like Dave Matz's place or Circus Center.
Of course.
Make the footage look professional, because especially if you send vertical iPhone footage, that's not the greatest.
But how do you now juggle things? Because social media now requires vertical footage, but everything else in the professional standpoint is horizontal.
Yes. So film everything horizontal in 4K, and then when you want to post it on social media, or if I don't post professional footage on social media really. I just keep it for our reels.
Makes sense.
And then I just keep adding, like I take away old footage from our older shows and then I supplement it with newer footage, so that way the reel's constantly always getting better. I've basically had the same exact song for our reels for a long time. So I just keep adding to the same video, and then I'll just cut a clip and cut a clip. Don't put cross dissolves because then it messes up the footage.
That's really smart though.
I know, because if you have cross dissolves, then your clips get shorter and shorter and shorter. So you don't want cross dissolves anyways. But that's just a small note for people. Just make your reel. Keep it to 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, depending on how much stuff you have. And then just every time you do a show, make sure someone films you. And because really, at the end of the day, we're all selling videos.
That is true. I know for a fact myself, I've had difficulty just reaching out to people and saying, can you film this? Because it feels just rude, unprofessional, or kind of self-egotistical, you know? But I guess now in the new age, you have to do so, and you're always adding new content and adding new stuff to film. It's
Yeah.
also difficult when you're juggling and you are one of the only entertainers and there's not a whole crowd of people. So you're focusing on the job itself. But I think that's really important for everyone to record as much as you can to get that content. And I've seen that because I've suffered from not having that.
Yeah. So my first ever show we did for Off Axis it was in 2017. It was for the Nickelodeon Kids Choice Sports Awards.
No way.
It was one of the producers found my YouTube channel, and I had a video called Choreographing the Tramp Ball Routine. And it wasn't actually even choreographing the tramp ball routine. It was just like messing around at Junk Tramp. And they found me and asked if I could put on a show, and I was like, yes. How do I do this? And so everything fell apart, but I was like basically willing to do this show for free because I knew like, okay, if I just get this footage and then I get this contract and it says no filming the events, you'll get professional footage. And I was like, but what if I don't get the footage? Which I didn't. No matter how many times I followed up, they just never sent me the footage. So thank God I didn't listen to them, and I hid my camera behind a bunch of chairs, and I just zoomed it in on the tramp ball. And our first reel ever is this footage from really far away that doesn't look that good, and it's just of the wall, and it's just static footage. And you see like one of the like security guys look by and is like, what is that camera doing right there filming? Because it's like, it's basically a movie set. You are definitely not allowed to film. But I was like, I don't even care if like, if I don't have that footage, I have no proof that we even did a show. And that footage is what helped us book all these shows. And it's still one of the biggest shows we've done.
I have to see that. I'm really curious now.
Just make sure you get a couple clips from every event that you do. And whether it doesn't even matter if it's iPhone footage. Like the stuff we filmed at Allegiant, I filmed the whole entire thing on my iPhone. So
that makes
half
sense.
the time, your iPhone footage looks better than a camera anyways. And you can't just hand someone a camera.
You can't. Especially because there's a lot of things where they take them away and no photography is permitted.
Yeah.
Or professional photography.
Yeah, the iPhone is just as good nowadays anyway. So you might as well just film everything on an iPhone. No one would ever really know.
And it also makes things easier, especially when you're not like doing a full produced video. It makes it easier to edit. The amount of videos that I've edited in a snap, I mean, of course, they're not probably going to be the best quality that a video engineer does, but I've had to do things in a snap and I've had to put it together, and I put that all on my phone, and I have those images and I have those videos all right there. If I have to extract it from my computer and then go through the whole process, make sure the files are compatible, oof.
Yeah. Well, I just keep everything on. I have a external hard drive where I keep all the footage.
Smart.
Not all of the footage, because I have like hours and hours and hours. But like I keep our reel and I just upload it to YouTube. And if I have to, I will just download it back from YouTube, add the new clips to it, put it back on YouTube. And then, your reel just constantly gets better and better. And that's what I would suggest to performers. So just keep one reel and then just slowly add to it and make it better and better.
I'm going to take that tip myself.
You should. But anyways, anything else you want to add in there?
Honestly, no, I just really respect your time. Thank you so much for having me along for this journey.
No problem.
I mean, it was really fun to do a podcast, too.
Yeah, thanks for doing the podcast.
Thank you so much.
So where can everyone find you on social media and stuff?
So on social media, you guys can find me, here, I'll start with the olden ones, Kayla, Kayla, Kalisz on Facebook, or Kayla Kalisz, model dancer aerialist on Facebook. On Instagram and TikTok, I keep everything nice and consistent. You can find me at Kayla Kalisz. So just Kay Kalisz. It's basically an abbreviation of my name, but I like having everything just nice and simple because they can always find it. If you guys ever want to email me, just reach out and we'll go from there, of course.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys for listening and supporting. If you guys enjoy this podcast, make sure you guys subscribe. We will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
That concludes this episode of the Off Axis podcast. If you guys found value in this, please consider sharing with your friends. Also, subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, everyone.